Commander Elara Chen stood at the bridge viewport of the UES Resilience, watching the massive Kha'Dur warship approach. The vessel was a behemoth easily 4 times the size of her diplomatic cruiser, its hull bristling with weapon arrays. The Galactic Conclave had sent them as an envoy to negotiate humanity's entry into the interstellar community. After 80 years of observing Earth from afar, the alien coalition had finally decided humans were civilized enough to be approached. Now, 3 light-years from home, they were about to be boarded by pirates. Analysis complete, Commander. Lieutenant Park reported from the tactical station. That's a Kha'Dur Apex-class warship. Military-grade weapons, shield generators, and a crew complement of approximately 400. Elara's mouth tightened. The Resilience carried a crew of 38, 22 military personnel and 16 scientific and diplomatic staff. Their ship, while advanced by Earth standards, was woefully outmatched. "They're hailing us," Communications Officer Rivera announced. On screen. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a creature that resembled a bipedal praying mantis, its exoskeleton a burnished copper. 6 compound eyes glittered with calculated intelligence. "Human vessel," the alien's translator rasped. "I am Sub-Commander Vrax of the Kha'Dur Sovereign Force. Your species is unknown to us, but our scans indicate your ship contains valuable technology and biological specimens. Submit to boarding or be destroyed." Elara kept her expression neutral. "This is Commander Elara Chen of the United Earthship Resilience. We are on a diplomatic mission to the Galactic Conclave. Your actions constitute piracy under interstellar law. Stand down and—" Vrax's mandibles clacked in what Elara assumed was laughter. "Interstellar law protects recognized species human. You have no status, no protection." The alien gestured to someone off-screen. "We have accessed your ship's registry. You carry no weapons systems. Fascinating. You're a defenseless species." Elara's heart hammered in her chest, but she maintained her composure. First contact scenarios had always anticipated the possibility of hostility. What they hadn't anticipated was encountering pirates before even reaching the conclave. "You misunderstand our intentions," she tried again. "We carry scientific and cultural data that would benefit." "You have 1 planetary rotation to prepare for boarding," Vrax interrupted. "Resistance will result in your vessel's destruction." The communication terminated. As soon as the screen went dark, Elara turned to her crew. "Status report." "They've locked onto us with targeting systems," Park confirmed. "But they're keeping their distance for now, probably scanning us more thoroughly." Dr. Morgan Walsh, the mission's chief xenobiologist, stepped forward. "Commander, I've analyzed their biology from the transmission. The Kha'Dur appear to be an insectoid species from a low-gravity world. That's why they're so large they evolved where mass constraints were minimal. Meaning they're likely stronger than humans in raw power, but their exoskeletons evolved in environments with less stress and impact than Earth. They're not built for the kinds of pressures our bones and muscles routinely endure." Elara nodded, understanding dawning. "And what about their ship? Why are they waiting to board rather than just taking what they want?" Lieutenant Commander Takahashi, their engineering expert, joined the conversation. The conclave documentation mentioned the Kha'Dur. They're scavengers more than innovators. They probably can't make sense of our engine signature. Earth's gravity compression drive uses principles most low-G species wouldn't develop. Elara's mind raced. The conclave briefing materials had classified Earth as a deathworld, a high-gravity, high-radiation planet with extreme weather patterns and biodiversity. Humans had evolved on a world that was, by galactic standards, extraordinarily hostile. It was why the conclave had hesitated to make contact. "They think we're defenseless because we don't list weapons on our ship registry," she said slowly, a plan forming. "But they don't understand what it means to evolve on a deathworld." "Commander?" Park looked confused. Elara's lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Humanity's greatest weapon has always been adaptability. Let's gather the crew." 20 hours later, the Resilience shuddered as magnetic clamps locked onto its hull. The Kha'Dur warship had finally moved into boarding position. "They're cutting through the outer airlock on Deck C," Security Chief Rodriguez reported, her dark eyes focused on the tactical display. "Estimate breach in 3 minutes." Elara nodded, feeling strangely calm now that the waiting was over. "Everyone to positions. Remember, we only get one chance at this." The bridge crew dispersed, leaving only Elara, Rodriguez, and Dr. Walsh at their stations. The rest had moved to implement their hastily devised plan. "Breach detected," the ship's AI announced dispassionately. "Hull integrity compromised on Deck C, Section 4. Elara opened the shipwide comm. "This is the commander. Enact Protocol Deathworld." On the security feeds, she watched as the first wave of Kha'Dur boarders entered the ship. There were 12 of them, each nearly 8 feet tall, armed with plasma cutters and sidearms. They moved with the cautious precision of experienced warriors, exoskeletons gleaming under the emergency lighting. What they couldn't know was that while the Resilience carried no conventional weapons, the crew had spent the last 20 hours transforming their ship into a monument to human ingenuity. The first trap activated as the boarding party entered the main corridor. The gravity plating, modified by Lieutenant Commander Takahashi, suddenly increased to 1.5 Earth Gs. The change was barely noticeable to the human crew members who had grown up under such conditions. To the Kha'Dur, evolved in a 0.6 G environment, it was like suddenly wearing lead weights. 3 of the aliens immediately stumbled, their exoskeletons creaking audibly under the strain. The rest slowed, clearly struggling to adjust. "They're still advancing," Rodriguez reported. "Deck C to Deck B in 30 seconds. Elara watched the feed with narrowed eyes. "Initiate Phase 2. As the Kha'Dur reached the junction between decks, the ship's environmental controls engaged. Temperature plummeted to just above freezing, and humidity spiked to 90%. For creatures with exoskeletons adapted to dry, warm environments, the sudden change was disorienting. Their movements became sluggish as condensation formed on their breathing apparatus. "Commander," Dr. Walsh said, "I'm detecting a second boarding party preparing to enter through Shuttle Bay 2. 8 more hostiles." "Understood." "Lieutenant Park, are you in position?" "Yes, Commander," Park's voice came through the comm. "Ready when they breach." On the feed, Elara watched as the second boarding party cut through the shuttle bay doors. As they entered, Park and 3 security officers waited, armed not with energy weapons, but with modified pressure hoses from the fire suppression system. The instant the Kha'Dur were fully inside, the humans unleashed jets of water at fire hose pressure. The aliens were knocked off their feet, struggling against the force of the water. On a low-gravity world, liquid dynamics worked differently. The Kha'Dur had never evolved to handle the overwhelming force of pressurized water. 2 were slammed against the bulkhead hard enough to crack their exoskeletons. "Barricade the shuttle bay," Elara ordered. "Rodriguez, status on the first boarding party?" "They've reached Deck B. 7 still active, moving toward the cargo hold." Elara nodded. "Perfect." The cargo hold had been transformed into the centerpiece of their defense. Inside waited Lieutenant Commander Jiang, their munitions expert, along with the ship's entire supply of industrial chemical compounds. Nothing that would be classified as a weapon in the conventional sense, but Jiang had spent 15 years in the United Earth military developing improvised explosives. As the Kha'Dur forced open the cargo hold doors, they were met with a blinding flash and a deafening concussion. The non-lethal flash bang, cobbled together from cleaning supplies and electrical components, disoriented the aliens' compound eyes and sensitive auditory organs. In the confusion, Jiang and his team struck. Using the ship's enhanced gravity to their advantage, the humans moved with practiced efficiency, wielding makeshift weapons, metal pipes, wrenches, and in Jiang's case, a fire axe. Earth's military forces had never abandoned physical combat training, even as technology advanced. Every crew member of the Resilience had undergone basic hand-to-hand training. Against the Kha'Dur, struggling in high gravity with impaired senses, it was enough to turn the tide. Commander, Rodriguez reported, a note of disbelief in her voice. The boarding parties are retreating. They're falling back to their ship. Elara allowed herself a small smile. Not yet, they're not. Dr. Patel, are you in position? Yes, Commander. The ship's physician responded. Ready to deploy on your mark. Execute. As the surviving Kha'Dur struggled back toward their entry points, Dr. Patel activated the ship's ventilation system. Into it, she had introduced a carefully calculated mixture of earth pollen extracts, nothing toxic, but specifically chosen for their properties as irritants to insectoid respiratory systems. The effect was immediate. The remaining Kha'Dur began convulsing, their breathing apparatus unable to filter the unfamiliar biological compounds. None would die, but none would be in fighting condition for hours. Bridge to all hands, Elara announced. Secure the borders and prepare for Phase 3. Sub-Commander Vrax watched in growing horror as his boarding parties, elite soldiers all, were systematically disabled by a ship that supposedly carried no weapons. His second-in-command approached, mandibles twitching in distress. Sub-Commander, we've lost contact with both teams. The few signals we're receiving indicate they've been captured or incapacitated. Vrax's compound eyes narrowed. Impossible. Our scans showed no weapons systems. The officer hesitated. The readings suggest they're using the ship itself as a weapon. Full environmental controls, gravity plating, even their atmospheric composition, they're all being weaponized. Before Vrax could respond, the communications system activated. Commander Chen's face appeared on the screen, her expression calm and controlled. Sub-Commander Vrax, your boarding parties have been neutralized. No fatalities, but several serious injuries requiring immediate medical attention. Vrax's rage bubbled to the surface. This deception will not stand. You claim to be unarmed. I made no such claim, Elara replied evenly. You assumed we were defenseless because we don't list conventional weapons on our registry. An understandable mistake for a species that didn't evolve on a deathworld. She leaned forward. Humanity survived on a planet with 1G gravity, extreme weather patterns, high radiation levels, and predators that would give your nightmares. We've endured ice ages, pandemics, and our own self-destructive tendencies. We don't need particle beams to be dangerous, Sub-Commander. Vrax's mandibles clacked in agitation. What are your demands? Return our wounded, withdraw your vessel, and carry a message to any others who might consider Earth an easy target. We come in peace, but we're forged in war against our planet, against ourselves, against extinction. Underestimate us at your peril. There was a long silence before Vrax responded. And if I refuse? Elara's expression hardened. Then you should know that while you were focused on boarding us, Lieutenant Commander Takahashi repurposed our gravity compression drive. With one command, I can create a localized gravity well that will crush your ship like an aluminum can. Your choice. Another tense silence followed. Finally, Vrax lowered his head in submission. We will withdraw. 3 days later, the UES Resilience arrived at the Galactic Conclave headquarters, a massive space station orbiting a neutron star. To their surprise, a delegation was waiting to receive them, not just the expected diplomatic corps, but high-ranking military officials from a dozen species. As Elara led her crew through the docking bay, a tall, avian being stepped forward. According to their briefing materials, this was High Counselor Tarak of the Ravi Ascendancy, one of the Conclave's founding members. Commander Chen, Tarak greeted her, head tilted in what appeared to be curiosity or respect. News of your encounter with the Kha'Dur has preceded you. It seems we may have miscalculated humanity's readiness for interstellar relations. Elara maintained her diplomatic poise. How so, High Counselor? We classified Earth as a deathworld, yes, but we failed to fully appreciate the implications. Tarak gestured to the assembled delegation. The Conclave has spent decades debating whether humanity would be a threat or an asset to galactic stability. Your handling of the Kha'Dur, neutralizing a superior force without fatalities, using only improvised means, has answered that question rather definitively. Dr. Walsh stepped forward. With respect, High Counselor, that encounter doesn't define humanity. We're scientists, artists, and explorers as much as we are survivors. Indeed, Tarek agreed. But in a galaxy where conflict is inevitable, species that can defend themselves without resorting to maximum violence are rare and valuable. The avian being extended a three-fingered hand in what was clearly a studied human gesture. The Galactic Conclave welcomes humanity, not as a protected species, but as equals. And perhaps Tarek's eyes gleamed with something like amusement, as the teachers we didn't know we needed. Elara took the offered hand, feeling the weight of the moment. We have much to learn from the Conclave as well. Of that I have no doubt, Tarek replied. But one lesson has already been noted in our archives: when dealing with humans, never assume that absence of weapons means absence of danger. You Deathworlders have a saying, I believe, necessity is the mother of invention? Something like that, Elara smiled. Though I prefer another old Earth saying, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. Tarek's features rearranged in what might have been confusion, but the meaning translated well enough. All around them, the delegation murmured in a dozen different languages, the universal translators picking up fragments: remarkable adaptation, tactical innovation, evolutionary advantage. As they were led deeper into the station, Elara caught Dr. Walsh's eye. The xenobiologist was barely suppressing a smile. They both understood what had happened. Humanity had earned something far more valuable than a mere diplomatic victory. They had earned respect. And in a galaxy of ancient civilizations and technological wonders, that was the most powerful weapon of all. Months later, as the Resilience prepared for its journey home, Elara received a message from an unexpected source. Sub-Commander Vrax, now demoted to scout leader following his failed piracy attempt, had sent a personal communication. Commander Chen, the message began, the Kha'Dur do not typically acknowledge defeat, but wisdom demands exception. We have added a warning to all navigational charts regarding Earth vessels: approach with caution. No weapons needed. Elara smiled as she archived the message. Humanity's first real step into the galactic community had been unconventional, to say the least. But perhaps that was fitting. After all, nothing about human history had ever been conventional. As the Resilience broke orbit, carrying treaties, technologies, and the beginnings of true interspecies cooperation, Elara thought about the lesson they had taught the galaxy. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't found in arsenals or weapon banks. It was humanity itself. Deathworlders, indeed,